Two cops thought they'd found just another suspicious guy to spice up their dull evening. They cracked jokes, twisted his arms, and rummaged through his stuff until they opened that asterisk briefcase. What was inside destroyed their careers in a matter of seconds. But let's start from the beginning. The patrol car glided through the quiet streets, its lights flashing lazily. Officers Tom Carter and Bob Randall, both in their 40s and thoroughly bored, were busy exchanging small talk about their productive day, handing out parking tickets, scolding jaywalkers, and their favorite pastime, pulling over anyone who looked suspicious. "Hey, check this out," Tom said, nodding toward a sleek black sedan parked outside a small store. By the open trunk stood a tall black man in a perfectly tailored suit, calmly loading bags. "A little overdressed for a late-night grocery run, don't you think? Dealer? Or maybe he's got something else to hide." Bob grinned. "Looks like someone just volunteered for a traffic stop. Let's see what he's up to." As they pulled up, the man glanced their way but showed no sign of concern. He shut the trunk, straightened his jacket, and stood calmly as they approached. "Evening, sir," Tom started, casually authoritative. "Just a routine check. Mind showing us your ID?" The man raised an eyebrow. "Routine? What's the reason for the stop?" His voice was deep, calm, and oddly commanding. "Reason?" Bob stepped forward, smirking. "How about because we said so? You people always have something going on. Now don't make this harder than it needs to be." "You people?" The man's expression didn't change, but his voice dropped a note lower. "I hope you're aware that racial profiling is illegal. I suggest you reconsider this approach." "Oh, we'll reconsider," Tom snapped, grabbing the man's arm. "Hands on the hood. If you're clean, you've got nothing to worry about." "I'd advise against this," the man said, his tone unwavering. "You don't have a warrant, and I know my rights." Ignoring him, they twisted his arms behind his back, snapping on handcuffs. Bob chuckled, rifling through the man's pockets. "You've got quite the attitude for someone in cuffs." Tom popped the trunk. Inside was a large black briefcase. "Well, well," he said, opening it with a flourish. "What's in here? Cash? Something illegal? Let's take a look." The briefcase opened to reveal neatly arranged documents stamped with the Department of Internal Affairs seal. Among them were photos, reports, and even dossiers labeled with their own names. Bob's smile vanished. "What is this?" Tom muttered, flipping through the papers. This can't be real." The man, still seated calmly on the curb, finally broke into a faint smile. "You should have listened. Now it's too late." A loud beep emitted from the briefcase, startling both officers. "What's that noise?" Bob asked, his voice shaky. "It's an alarm," the man replied coolly. "Backup is on the way. I suggest you get comfortable." The sound of approaching sirens grew louder, and the officers' confidence drained. For the first time that night, they began to realize they were no longer in control. As the briefcase clicked open, Tom and Bob leaned in, expecting something they could easily twist into an arrest-worthy discovery. Instead, their eyes met neatly stacked folders, all bearing the Department of Internal Affairs seal. The weight of the situation didn't hit immediately, until Bob spotted the first sheet of paper. "Hold up," he muttered, squinting at the bold letters stamped across the top. Asterisk official termination notice. Beneath it, their names, badge numbers, and a list of allegations. Tom snatched another document, his face losing all color. "Are you seeing this? It says we're being fired. Fired. For systemic discrimination and misconduct. This has got to be a joke, right? Some kind of fake." Bob was already rifling through the rest of the papers, each more damning than the last. There were pages detailing their questionable stops, complaints filed by civilians, and even screenshots of their internal communications. The air in the parking lot grew heavier by the second. "What the?" Bob began, then stopped. His hand froze on a tablet nestled in the briefcase. The screen flickered to life, and to their horror, a video began to play. It was them. Their voices, their movements, everything recorded from the moment they had pulled over the man now sitting calmly on the curb. Tom's voice, sharp and cutting, echoed from the video. "Guys like you always have something to hide." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The reality was sinking in too fast to process. This has to be staged, Tom stammered, flipping through the folders in desperation. Someone's messing with us. Bob slammed the briefcase shut, his voice rising. Hey! He stormed toward the man on the curb, his composure cracking. Who are you? What is this? You're trying to set us up, aren't you? The man didn't flinch. Instead, he looked up at Bob with the same calm, piercing gaze that had unnerved them earlier. A faint smirk played on his lips. Gentlemen, you've done this to yourselves, he said, his tone almost amused. For months now, you've been under investigation. Every stop, every unnecessary escalation, it's all documented. And tonight, you sealed the deal. What investigation? Tom barked, his voice shaky. You don't even have authority to— I do, the man interrupted, his voice firm. I'm Charles Hartman, Chief of Internal Affairs. And what you just opened wasn't a briefcase. It was Pandora's box. For a beat, the world seemed to stand still. Tom and Bob exchanged panicked glances, trying to piece together what they'd just heard. You're lying, Bob blurted out, his tone desperate. This can't be real. Oh, it's real, Hartman replied smoothly. And now that you've triggered the alarm, reinforcements are on their way. I'd say you have about 3 minutes to think of your next move. Alarm? Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. As if on cue, the briefcase emitted a piercing beep, loud enough to echo across the parking lot. What the heck is that? Bob demanded, his eyes darting toward the source of the sound. Hartman gestured toward the case with his cuffed hands. A little precaution. It's a tracking signal. Every move you've made tonight has been logged, and now the cavalry is coming to pick up where I left off. The sound of distant sirens cut through the air, their wail growing louder with each passing second. Tom's face twisted in disbelief. You're a cop? No, this can't be happening. Hartman leaned back slightly, his confidence unshaken. Not just a cop, the one who's been cleaning up messes like yours for years. The sirens were closer now. Bob and Tom exchanged frantic looks, their bravado replaced by genuine fear. This is some kind of prank, Bob muttered, though even he didn't sound convinced anymore. But as the flashing lights of an unmarked car pulled into the lot, it became painfully clear. This was no prank. Hartman's reinforcements had arrived, and Tom and Bob were officially out of time. Flashing red and blue lights lit up the parking lot as the unmarked car screeched to a halt. Out stepped Captain Lewis, a man whose commanding presence could silence an entire room. He took one sweeping glance at the scene, the disheveled officers, the calm man in handcuffs, and let out an audible sigh. Everyone freeze, Lewis barked, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. He marched straight to the curb, his eyes locking on the restrained man. Release Mr. Hartman now. Mr. Who? Tom muttered, fumbling with the cuffs as his hands shook. Charles Hartman, Lewis said with deliberate weight, as if daring them to argue. Chief of Internal Affairs. The man who just exposed both of you for what you are. Tom's face went pale. Bob, usually quick with a smug retort, was too stunned to speak. Captain, there's been some kind of mistake, Tom stammered, stepping back. We didn't know. He didn't say. And that's exactly the problem. Lewis cut him off sharply. You didn't know because you didn't bother to ask. You didn't see a man. You saw an excuse to flex your authority. Your actions are a disgrace to this department. Tom and Bob exchanged a panicked glance, their bravado from earlier completely gone. But sir, Bob tried to interject. Lewis raised a hand to silence him. Save it. Everything you said, every action you took, it's all on video. And guess where it is now? In the department's archive. Don't even think about denying it. The weight of those words hit like a sledgehammer. Both officers stood frozen, their minds scrambling for a way out. But there was no escape from this. Hartman, now free of the cuffs, calmly stood and adjusted his jacket. Thank you, Captain, he said, his voice as steady as ever. He turned to Tom and Bob, his expression unreadable. Gentlemen, consider this your final lesson in accountability. No one is above the law. The humiliation was palpable. Tom and Bob stood there, stripped of the authority they had wielded so carelessly. Days later, The fallout was swift and brutal. The footage from Hartman's hidden camera was uploaded to the department's archive and quickly leaked to the public. Within hours, it went viral. Millions of people watched as Tom and Bob were caught on tape, their biases and abuses of power laid bare for the world to see. Social media erupted. Comments ranged from outrage to praise for Hartman's unshakable composure. Memes of the officers' stunned faces flooded the internet, turning them into the latest example of why systemic change was long overdue. "You see this guy?" one popular post read, showing a clip of Hartman's calm demeanor as the officers unraveled. "That's how you handle injustice, with grace and receipts." By the end of the week, Tom and Bob had lost their badges, their jobs, and any shred of credibility they once had. Internal Affairs issued a formal statement condemning their actions, and legal proceedings were already underway. As for Hartman, he became an icon almost overnight. News outlets hailed him as a symbol of accountability and justice. His quiet but resolute approach reminded everyone that true authority comes from integrity, not a badge. In the end, Hartman's actions sent a powerful message. The law applies to everyone, no exceptions. And for Tom and Bob, the message couldn't have been clearer. How would you have handled this situation if you were in Mr. Hartman's shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you or someone you know ever experienced anything similar? Let us know your stories, and don't forget to like and share this video if it resonated with you. This story was created to shine a light on important issues and inspire positive change. Together we can make the world a better place. Remember, ***, your opinion matters. ***.